I'm gonna show you guys how to make this adorable butterfly granny square. What's great about this is that you can work it all in one color and all in one piece. So it's like a no-sew granny square, if you will, versus making separate pieces and then connecting them, which I don't like doing for some reason. So I made this to where you can just continue, you can work it with one color, you can switch colors, whatever you want to do. But it's a no-sew granny square. The only things you'll have to, I guess, sew in would be some ends at the end. Just keep in mind that the body and the outer rounds of the wings have to match in color for this to not look wonky. But enough of the chit chat, let's get straight to it. We are going to need a 4mm crochet hook, a yarn needle, darning needle, tapestry needle, whatever you want to call it, some scissors, and then I'm using basically this is DK weight yarn. It's not advertised as that for some reason, but that's what it is. But I will link everything below. And again, you can just use one color if you want, and I'll explain what to do if you are using just one color, but I'm going to show you with changing colors so you have that option too. All right, we'll start with a slip knot. And we will start with a chain 8. 7, 8, and then into the second chain from our hook. And it doesn't matter where on the chain you insert it, because it's all kind of going to be hidden anyway, because this will end up being the center of the body of the butterfly. So into the second chain from our hook, we'll start with 2 single crochets. So insert, grab your yarn, pull it through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. It's a single crochet. And then into the next 5 chains, we'll single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hopefully you don't hear my neighbor's landscapers, because this is when they would be doing it, is when I finally have some time to record. Ugh. Murphy's Law, right? Okay, and then into the last chain, we're going to do 5 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then now kind of turn your work so you work along the other side of the chain. So into the next 5 chains, we will single crochet. And I just try to find those X's and work underneath the X. And bring my tail end over. And single crochet. And then I'll find the next X and work under that. Three, four, and last X there, 5, and then into the last chain, which was actually the chain we started in, we will do 3 single crochets. And then that way you end up with 5 single crochets total in that chain, since we started with 2 single crochets in that chain. So 3 single crochets, 2 and 3, and my yarn's already getting tangled. And then into that first stitch, we will slip stitch, and to know, if you didn't mark it, to know where it is, just find the vertical bars in that chain that you're already in, and the V's will be right above it. This was the second single crochet we made here, 2 vertical bars, and then this was the first one. It's going to be a little bit slanted and a little bit harder to work into, but that is in fact the first single crochet. And we'll just slip stitch by, after we insert, we grab our yarn, pull it through, just pull it, really just pull it through everything. All right, and then we'll chain 1 and turn. So now your V's should be pointing to the left. And then we'll slip stitch into the first 4, but keep in mind, so this is your working loop. This was the chain 1, and this was the slip stitch we used to join the round. So those, you don't work into either of those. So it'll look like you're working into the 3rd stitch, but really that is in fact the first stitch to work into. So 1 slip stitch, and then 2, and to the next, 3, and to the next, 4. So 4 slip stitches. Next we'll chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then into the 4th chain from our hook, 1, 2, 3, and 4, we will double crochet. So yarn over, insert into the 4th chain from our hook, grab your yarn, pull it through. You should have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. So double crochet. And then we'll do 5 more double crochets into that same exact chain. 2, so 6 total. And 6. And now kind of turn your work, because now we're gonna still work into the same chain, but we're working on the other side of it, and that's just to kind of balance things out. So we're going to do 6 more double crochets. Same chain, just kind of turned to work on the other side of it. And 6. And now we'll slip stitch to join, and I'll show you exactly where. So keep in mind, when your V's are pointing to the right, the V that goes with the stitch will come right before the post. So this V goes with this post versus this V. This V goes with the next post, not this one. Hope that makes sense. And that's when your V's are pointing to the right. Because sometimes the V is right above its post, but sometimes it'll get kind of pulled, so it'll be hard to tell which V is the correct V. But that's how you know. If they're pointing to the right, the V comes right before its corresponding post. So we'll insert. So this was the first post that we made. So the first double crochet that we made. Insert. And here we'll just slip stitch. Oh. And then just fasten off, or chain 1. However you fasten. You really don't need a lot of excess. And we're going, this is if you're changing colors, by the way. If you're not changing colors, don't fasten off. If you're not changing colors after you slip stitch, just chain 3. So if you're keeping the same color, you just skip the changing color part, I guess. So with our color B, or secondary color, or primary color, I don't know. I guess there's more white in it, but anyway, that's besides the point. Make a slip knot, and then insert into that, so into the same exact stitch that we slip stitched into. That's still the first stitch of the round, because we slip stitched into the first stitch of the round. So insert exactly where we had slip stitched. And then pull it through, and then we'll chain 3. And again, if you want to work around your tail ends, that will be less to have to weave in later. I am going to work around mine, so don't let that confuse you. And then into that same stitch that we just started in, so that same stitch that our chain is coming out of, we will do 2 double crochets. 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet, and then into the next stitch we'll do 2 double crochets. 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, and then into the next stitch we'll do 2 half double crochets. So yarn over, insert, grab your yarn, pull it through. Should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3 loops, and then 1 more into that same stitch. And then into the next 2 stitches, we'll do 2 single crochets into each. So 1 single crochet, and then a second single crochet in that same stitch, and then into the next stitch, same thing, 1 single crochet and 2 single crochet. And And then into the next stitch, we will do a half double and a double crochet. So one half double, and then one double. And then and then now we're basically gonna mirror what we just did. So now we'll do a double crochet and then a half double crochet. So into the next stitch, double crochet, and half double crochet. Into the next 2 stitches, we'll do 2 single crochets. 1 single crochet, and then 2 single crochet into the same stitch. Into the next stitch, 2 single crochets. 1, 2. Into the next stitch, we'll do 2 half double crochets. 1 half double. 2 half double. And then into the next 2 stitches, we'll do 2 double crochets. So 1 double crochet, and then into the same stitch, a second double crochet, and then into that last stitch, 2 double crochets. And then now we will slip stitch to join. And remember that when your V's are pointing to the right, the V comes right before its corresponding stitch. So we're not counting the chain as a stitch. So the first double crochet, the V right before it, is where we want to insert. And that is the first stitch of the round that we're slip stitching into. And then if you're changing colors, chain 1 and fasten off. If you're not changing colors, go ahead and just chain 3. Slip knot, and then once again into the same stitch that we slip stitched into. That's where we're gonna join, because that is the first stitch of the round. So we'll chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then similar as the last round, we will put 2 double crochets into that same exact stitch that we just joined into. 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. And then into the next stitch, we'll do 2 double crochets again. 1 and 2. And then into the next stitch, we'll just do 1 half double crochet. And then into the next stitch, we'll do 2 half double crochets. One half double crochet, 2 half double crochets, and then into the next stitch, we will single crochet. So just 1 single crochet. Into the next stitch, we'll do 2 single crochets. 1 and 2, and then into the next 5 stitches we will single crochet. So 1 single crochet into each of the next 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then into the next stitch, we will do a single crochet and a double crochet. So both into the same stitch. So 1 single crochet, and then into the same stitch, 1 double crochet. And then now we're gonna mirror what we just did. So now into the next stitch, we'll double crochet and single crochet. Double crochet, and into the same stitch, single crochet. And then into the next 5 stitches, we'll single crochet. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then into the next stitch, 2 single crochets. So 1 single crochet, and then into the same stitch, a second single crochet, and then into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, into the next stitch, 2 half double crochets, 1 and 2, and then into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet, and then into the next 2 stitches, 2 double crochets. So 1 double crochet, into the same stitch, a second double crochet, and then to the last stitch, 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet. And slip stitch into the first stitch to join, and we're keeping the same color here, we're not going to fasten off. So, and remember the V pointing to the right comes right before its corresponding stitch. So into the first stitch of the round, slip stitch, and then chain 1 and continue working the same direction. We'll do 16 slip stitches, and the first slip stitch will go into that stitch that we just slip stitched into, or that we just joined into, because that is still the first stitch of the round. So that is where we will start. So 1 slip stitch into the next stitch, another slip stitch, and just continue until you have 16 slip stitches. And then that 16th slip stitch ends up going with a single with that last single crochet before that double crochet, if that's helpful at all, in case you lose count or something. So next, we'll insert into the next stitch of the wing, and then into the same stitch on the body that the chain is coming out of. So that last stitch that we slip stitched into, the chain will be coming out of it. Make sure you're inserting in the same direction that I'm inserting, versus like, you don't want to insert down on the body. You do want to still insert bottom up. So on the wing, basically top down, and then the body bottom up. I don't know if that makes sense, but I sure hope it does. And then we're basically gonna slip stitch to join everything. So yarn over and just pull through everything on your hook. And then we're gonna do the same thing into the next stitch of the wing and the next stitch of the body. So insert into the next stitch of the wing, and then into the next stitch along the body, and same thing, we'll yarn over and pull through everything, and then into the next stitch on the body, we'll slip stitch. And then now, if we're changing colors, we're gonna chain 3. If we're keeping the same color, just go ahead and chain 7. This color change won't be necessary, obviously, but if you are changing colors, chain 3. This will make sense in a moment. And then fasten off. So basically that third chain is really just like a fasten or not. And then get our next color. And the reason for this is because we don't want the white showing on the body, because it'll look weird in the end if there's just like a random like white spot popping out. So I hope that makes sense to you. But obviously, if you're not changing colors, you can just chain 7. And then into that second chain, so it's basically going to be the one right before that last knot. It doesn't totally matter how you insert, like where in the chain or in that chain. Just insert it wherever. And then pull through. And then chain 5. I know it's seems a little wonky, but I promise you, I tried this without doing it like this, and it looked strange with just like a random white spots. So, and things are gonna seem like they're not facing the right direction as you go, but it will work out, I promise. Trust the process. So don't worry about your other wings seeming wonky. All right, and then into the 4th chain from our hook. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll do basically what we did on the first wing. We're doing the same for the first 2 rows of it. We're just not doing the 3rd round of the wing. So everything else will be the same, but I'll still walk you through it. So 6 double crochets into the 4th chain from our hook. And just as we did before, just turn your work a little bit, so then you're working along the other side of that same exact chain. So still into that same chain that we've already been working into, another 6 double crochets. And it may look a little wonky, but that first double crochet might look shorter only because it's getting tugged down a little bit, or it's getting pulled down. So don't skip that on accident. That's not your chain. You're kind of around your chain. Like your chain's kind of hidden underneath your double crochets, if that makes sense. So we will slip stitch into that first stitch, or that first double crochet that we made. And if you're keeping the same color, go ahead and chain 3. Otherwise, chain 1, fasten off, or however you fasten off. And then grab your next color. And the color of the outer round of each wing, you want to be the same color as the body, by the way. Otherwise the body is going to be multiple colors and it'll look kind of wonky. It'll likely look weird. All right, and then we will join into that same stitch that we just slip stitched into. And chain 3. And then just as we did before, into that same stitch, so that first stitch, which is the one we just joined into, we'll do 2 double crochets. So 1 and 2. Into the next stitch, 2 double crochets. Into the next stitch, 2 half double crochets. One half double, 2 half double, into the next 2 stitches, 2 single crochets. So one single crochet into that same stitch, a second single crochet, and then into the next stitch, single crochet, into the same stitch, a second single crochet. And then into that next stitch, we'll do a half double crochet and a double crochet. Half double crochet, and then to that same stitch, a double crochet. I know it might look kind of weird because I'm working around these, but it is less daunting later, even though it's kind of annoying now because I have to maneuver them a little bit, but that's my preference. You don't have to work around them. You can weave them in later if you'd like. All right, now we're going to mirror what we just did. So into the next stitch, we'll double crochet, and half double crochet. And then into the next 2 stitches, 2 single crochets. 1 single crochet into that same stitch, 2nd single crochet, into the next stitch, 1 single crochet, and 2 single crochets. Into the next stitch, 2 half double crochets, 1 half double, two half double, into the next 2 stitches, 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet into the same stitch, a 2nd double crochet, then into that last stitch, 2 double crochets. So 1, 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet, and then slip stitch into that first double crochet of the round. So that V comes right before its corresponding post. So find that first double crochet and just find the insert into the V right before it, or to the right of it. All right, slip stitched to join. And now we'll chain 1 and continue working in the same direction just like we did on the last wing, but now we're going to do 11 slip stitches. So we will start in that same stitch that we just slip stitched into or joined into. So 1 slip stitch, 2, 3, 4. And side note, you don't want your slip stitches to be too tight. That's why I'm kind of working them somewhat loose, because as you can see, it kind of curves the wing, the outer edges of the wing, which I kind of like that, but you may not want it to do that too much. So if your slip stitches are too tight, it's going to curve it even more, if that makes sense, because we're not increasing or anything. So naturally it's going to curve it up, or curve it in. I don't know if that makes sense, but that is why, if you would like to know, if you want to know why I'm doing the things I'm doing. Okay, and now this part gets a little confusing, but don't worry, I'll walk you through it. So make sure your wings are the right direction. So it should be on the right side of the body, and you want the curve to be up this way. So you don't want it backwards. Right side up. And then what we'll do next is insert into the next stitch of the small wing, and then into the next available stitch of the large wing. So this was the last stitch we worked into when we joined it into the body. So the next available stitch, or unworked stitch, however you want to put it, will be here. But you don't want to insert top down this time. This time we're going to insert bottom up into that large wing. So top down into the small wing, and then bottom up into the large wing. and then yarn over, pull through everything. And then now we'll insert into the next stitch of the small wing, and then the same stitch on the body that our chain is coming out of. So that last stitch that we had slip stitched into, the chain should be coming out of it. Insert there. And same thing, top down for the inserting into the small wing, and then bottom up inserting into the body. And then yarn over, pull through everything. And then basically we're going to do the same thing into the next 2 stitches of both the small wing and the body. So into the next stitch of the small wing, insert top down, and then into the next stitch of the body, I'm going to insert bottom up, and then yarn over, pull through everything, and then we'll do that one more time. So into the next stitch of the small wing, and then the next stitch of the body, and then yarn over, pull through everything. And then into the next 12 stitches around the body, we will slip stitch. So into the next stitch of just the body, so not the wing, slip stitch, and continue slip stitching all the way around. Should be 12 slip stitches. And then slip stitch into that first slip stitch that we made. To help find it, there will kind of be like a knot or a smaller V right before that slip stitch, because that was the chain one that we made before we turned. Or you can count back from the chain of the large wing. You can count back. So not counting the chain of the large wing, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So, because remember we had made 4 slip stitches, so that's another way to help find it. So slip stitch into that first slip stitch of the round, or whatever you want to call it. Slip stitch. And now we'll chain 1 and turn. So now your work is right side facing the right side, or the top side, I guess. And then we'll slip stitch into the next 4 stitches, but we're going to slip stitch into the single crochets. Instead of, you can slip stitch into the slip stitches that we just made, but 1, it's going to be harder to work into, and 2, it'll look better if you don't, because those were just we just used to get to where we need to get to. You can find the first one, and if you need to pull things apart, you can. You'll find kind of a small little hole there, right? So start there. 1 slip stitch, 2, 3, and 4. So you're working into those single crochets from a couple rounds ago instead of the slip stitches. And it's okay if it's not like 100% perfect, as long as the chains line up. We just want it symmetrical as much as possible. So if you're like not positive if you're working into the right spot to get where the single crochets are, it's really okay. It won't be the end of the world. Just try to get to where you're matched up with the other side. So now we're really just going to repeat what we did kind of on the other side. So we'll chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then into the 4th chain from our hook, 1, 2, 3, and 4, we will do 6 double crochets. And then turn to where you're working along the other side of that same chain, another 6 double crochets. And then slip stitch to that first double crochet to join. If you are not changing colors, go ahead and chain 3. If you are changing colors, fasten off, or chain 1 and cut however you fasten off. All right, and then we'll join with our other color. Just like we did on the other wings. And chain 3 into that same stitch, double crochet, or 2 double crochets. Into the next stitch, 2 double crochets. Into the next stitch, 2 half double crochets. Into the next stitch, 2 single crochets. Into the next stitch, another 2 single crochets. Into the next stitch, half double crochet and double crochet. Half double crochet and double crochet into that same stitch. And then now we're going to mirror what we just did. So into the next stitch, double crochet and half double crochet. Into the next stitch, 2 single crochets. Into the next stitch, another 2 single crochets. Into the next stitch, 2 half double crochets. Into the next stitch, 2 double crochets. And into that last stitch, 2 double crochets. And slip stitch into that first double crochet to join. And if you're keeping the same color, go ahead and just chain 3. If you're switching colors, chain one and cut, or fasten off, however you prefer. And grab our other color, slip knot, and join in the same exact stitch that we slip stitched into, and chain 3, and then into that same stitch again, 2 double crochets. Into the next stitch, 2 double crochets. Into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet. Into the next stitch, 2 half double crochets. Into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. Into the next stitch, 2 single crochets. And then a second single crochet. And then into the next 5 stitches, single crochet. One, 2, 3, 4, and 5. My yarn's being creepy. It's getting closer. And then into the next stitch, single crochet and double crochet. Single crochet, into that same stitch, double crochet. Into the next stitch. So now we're just going to mirror what we just did. Into the next stitch, double crochet and single crochet. 1 double crochet, and then 1 single crochet. Into the next 5 stitches, 5 single, into the next 5 stitches, single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Into the next stitch, 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. Into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. Into the next stitch, 2 half double crochets. 1 and 2. Into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet. And then into the next 2 stitches, 2 double crochets. So 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet into the same stitch. And then into the last stitch, another 2 double crochets. 1 and 2, and slip stitch into that first double crochet to join. And we're going to do what similar to the previous large wing, but a little bit different. So we're still going to chain 1, and we're not changing colors or anything. But this time we're going to turn. And that's because this is going to be, just to give you an idea, we want to work this way, since on this wing we worked our slip stitches along the top. So if we didn't turn, it wouldn't be as even. or symmetrical. We want to work our slip stitches along the top, which is why we are turning this time versus last time we did not turn. So if that helps make sense of things. So we chained one, now we turn. So now your V's should be pointing to the left. And then kind of similar to what I showed you. So when we turned earlier and when I showed you, here's our working loop. That's our chain one, and then that was our slip stitch to join. So the first stitch to work into is actually this one here, which kind of looks like the third stitch, but it's not. It is the first stitch. So I hope that helps. And we'll do 16 slip stitches. So 1 and then 2. All right, and now kind of similar to what we did with the last large wing, but slightly different. So now we're first going to insert into that same stitch the last stitch that we slip stitched into, where our chain is coming out. So insert there, and then insert into the next stitch of your large wing here, and bottom up, inserting bottom up on the large wing. So top down on the body, bottom up on the wing. Bottoms up. Sorry, is that inappropriate? I guess it depends on what that means. I think that's what, people taking shots or something. Whatever. And then same thing into the next stitch of both the body and the wing. So find that next stitch and still working into those single crochets instead of the slip stitches. So find that next, basically that next opening along the body, and then into the next stitch of the wing, and then yarn over, pull through everything, and then slip stitch into the next opening or stitch of the body, and not the wing this time, and just slip stitch. And then now we're going to start our small wing. So just as we did before, if we're changing colors, we're going to chain 3. If we're not changing colors, just chain 7. And then pull and cut. And grab our next color. And find that second chain. And then chain 5. 4 and 5. And then into the 4th chain from our hook, we'll do 6 double crochets. 6, and then turn. We're working along the other side of that chain, and another 6 double crochets. Remember that that first double crochet might look kind of short because it's getting pulled down. So don't mistake the next one as the first. The first one is in fact right here. So we'll slip stitch to the first double crochet to join, and if you're keeping the same color, chain 3, otherwise chain 1 and cut, or fasten off, however you prefer. And switch back our other color. And joining into that same first double crochet that we had slip stitched into, or joined into. And chain 3. And then into that same stitch again, 2 double crochets. Into the next stitch, 2 double crochets. Into the next stitch, 2 half double crochets. Into the next 2 stitches, 2 single crochets. And 2 single crochets into the next. And then into the next stitch, half double crochet and double crochet. And then now we're just going to mirror what we just did. So into the next stitch, double crochet and half double crochet, double crochet, and half double, and then into the next 2 stitches, we'll do 2 single crochets, 2, and then another 2 into the next, 1, 2 single crochets, and then into the next stitch, 2 half double crochets, 1, 2, I'm done working around that. I'll snip those off later. And then into the next 2 stitches, 2 double crochets. So 1 and 2, and then to the next stitch, another 2 double crochets. And slip stitched into that first double crochet to join. Then we'll chain 1 and turn. So for the same reason we are turning on this small wing, to make it more symmetrical. And once again, this is our chain 1 and this is our slip stitch to join. So our first stitch will look like the 3rd stitch, but it is in fact the first stitch to work into. So we'll do 11 slip stitches. And then now we'll make sure everything's facing the right way. Mine's upside down right now, but this is how it should be looking. So this is the right side of our work, or of our butterfly. Alright, so just did our 11th slip stitch, and then now, sort of like what we did before, just in a different order. And make sure your wing, this large wing, is facing the right way. We're gonna insert into the closest unworked stitch of the large wing to the body. So the closest stitch to the body that has not been worked into yet, which this one has been worked into. You can kind of tell because it's kind of been tugged on. That's the last one we worked into. And then this next stitch is the one we want to insert into. So insert into that first, top down on the larger wing, and then into, make sure your yarn is on your hook, and then into the next stitch of the small wing, bottom up, and then yarn over, pull through everything. And then next we'll insert first into the same stitch on the body that our chain is coming out of. So that last one that we had slip stitched into, the chain will be coming out of it. Insert into that first, and then into the next available stitch on the small wing. So top down into the body, and then bottom up into that small wing. Yarn over, pull through everything, and then basically repeat that into the next two stitches of both the body and the small wing. So insert into the next stitch on the body, and then the next stitch on the small wing. Yarn over, pull through everything, and then one more time into the next stitch of the body, and then the next stitch of the small wing. Yarn over, pull through everything, and then slip stitch into the next two stitches on the body. One, then two, and now we're basically going to start the outer part, but we have to create our frame first. So we're going to chain 5, 4, 5. This round it is going to count as a stitch, but don't worry, I'll tell you exactly where you need to insert your hook, so don't worry. So we chained 5, and now we're going to do a double treble into the next stitch along the body. So to do that, we're going to yarn over 3 times, and then insert, grab your yarn, pull it through. Should have 5 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through the last 2. It's a double treble. All right, and then we will chain 2, and we're going to single crochet into the 4th unworked stitch of the small wing from the body. So counting from the body. So this stitch, if you kind of pull things apart, this stitch was worked into. So the next available will be this one. So from here we'll count. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So into that 4th unworked stitch of the small wing, we will single crochet. And then we'll chain 2 and then skip the next 2 stitches. So 1, 2, and then single crochet into the next. And then chain 3 and skip 3. Sort of. You actually end up kind of skipping 2 technically. So 1, 2, because we do actually want to work right under where we had turned. So it kind of looks like 3 stitches, which is why I say 3, but really one was a slip stitch to join, but that's not super relevant. Just where it's kind of pointed, right there is where we want to insert our hook. So single crochet and then chain 2, skip 2. So this is going to kind of get harder to tell because we are working into those we are working into these stitches versus the slip stitches, which it's not going to matter too much. It's going to be easier overall, and it'll look better. So we chained to 2 and we'll skip 2. So if you need to pull things apart, you can. So 1 and 2, and then into that next stitch. So skip 1, 2, and then into that next stitch. If it's easier, you can kind of look on the back side. So this is where we just worked. So we're skipping 2, 1, 2, and then so this is where we want to work the next one if that's easier to see for you. So I'll single crochet and then chain 3 and skip the next 3, or you can count the actuals. You can look at the actual stitches and then just remember that where you want to insert comes right before its post. So skip the next 3. That's 1 stitch if you're counting the posts instead. 2, and then 3. So want to insert right there. But we're not going to single crochet this time. We will double crochet into that stitch. And again, like if it's not exact, it's not the end of the world. I've just made it to where it's going to be symmetrical, but if you're like not positive, like, oh, is this the right spot? It's not a huge deal as far as this framing round. And then now we will chain 4, and then we're going to count from the body the 8th unworked stitch. So this stitch here was worked into. You can tell when you kind of pull it apart, it gets tugged. So the 8th unworked stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 is where we want to single crochet. So that 8th unworked stitch, counting from the body, and then chain 4 again, and then skip 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and single crochet to the next after skipping 4, and then chain 3. And then similar to what we had just done on the other wing, you skip what looks like 3 but really you're only skipping 2 just because this is where we like slip stitched and stuff. But just as before, what really matters is just inserting your hook where that point is, or where that knot is. So single crochet and chain 4 and skip 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here is where you want to insert. And single crochet, and then chain 1. Oh, so chain 1, and skip 1, and then double crochet into the next, and then chain 1, and then now into somewhere, doesn't matter exactly where, but just on the top right of the body, we're going to do a double treble just as we did when we started this round. So yarn over 3 times, insert to the top right somewhere, top center right of the body, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That's a double treble. And then chain 2. Then same thing into the left center of the top of the body. So another double treble. So yarn over 3 times. And it's okay if it's not perfect. Just insert it somewhere. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And then chain 1, and then into the 9th stitch, counting from the body, just count your V's. So starting where it's most obvious. So start here. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and 9. So into that 9th stitch, we will double crochet, and then chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet into the next, and then chain 4 and skip 4, and once again it should be kind of where we had started those slip stitches, so it'll be a little bit more raised or pointed. We didn't turn here, so it's not as pointed, but that is where we want to insert. And then single crochet, and then chain 3 and skip 3. 1, 2, 3. Single crochet, and then chain 4 and skip 4 and single crochet, and then chain 4 into the 4th stitch, counting from the body of the small wing. So just start where it's like most obvious, the most obvious V. Again, if it's not perfect, it's not the end of the world. Count 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. double crochet, and then chain 3, skip 3, single crochet. I'm getting caught on every single stitch right now. It's kind of weird. Jeez. And then chain 2 and skip 2 and single crochet. And it ends up being, once again, where that knot is. And then chain 3, skip 3, and then single crochet to the next, and then chain 2, skip 2, single crochet into the next, and then chain 2 and slip stitch into the 5th chain. So we're not slip stitching into the V that goes with the double treble, which would be this, the V right before the post of the double treble. We're going to insert into the chain right before that, which is the 5th chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That is where we want to insert. So slip stitch. If you are keeping the same color, just chain 1 and then I'll show you from there. If you are changing colors, fasten off or chain 1 and cut. And slip knot. And then insert or join right where we had just left off. So in that same chain that we just slip stitched into, that is where we want to insert to join, and then just pull through and chain 1, and then single crochet into that exact same chain. So where we just joined into that same chain, single crochet. And then into the next stitch. So it's the V that goes with that double treble. So the V right before the post, when your V's are pointing to the right, single crochet there. Into the next chain space, we'll do 2 single crochets, one and 2, and I'm just working around my tail ends. And then into the next stitch, which was a single crochet. And remember, the correct place to insert is underneath the V, right before the corresponding post. So sometimes it kind of looks like it should be the V right after, but it is the V right before the post of that stitch. So single crochet there. Into the next chain space, 2 single crochets, into the next stitch, single crochet, and then into the next chain space, which should be a chain 3 space this time, we'll do 3 single crochets. Into the next stitch, instead of single crochet, we're going to do 3 half double crochets because we're creating our corner. So remember the V right before the corresponding post. So we'll do 1 half double, 2 half double, and 3 half doubles. And then into the next chain space, we'll do 2 single crochets. And then into the next stitch, single crochet. And then into the next chain space, should be a chain 3 space, do 3 single crochets. And then single crochet into the next stitch. And remember that V comes right before its corresponding post. Into the next chain space, 4 single crochets. Into that next stitch. It's going to look kind of weird, but that is where you insert single crochet. And then into the next chain 4 space, 4 single crochets. Into the next stitch, single crochet. Then into the next chain space, should be a chain 3 space, do 3 single crochets. And then into the next stitch, this will be another corner, so we'll do 3 half double crochets into this next stitch. So 1, 2, and 3. So you can see where it could be confusing. You might think this is the stitch that goes with the post, but it's not. So if that's helpful in general. Then into the next chain 4 space, we'll do 4 single crochets. And single crochet into the next stitch. And then into the next chain space, which is just a chain 1 space, we'll single crochet into the next stitch, single crochet, and then the next chain space, which is really just a chain 1 space, single crochet, just 1 single crochet there, and then into the next stitch. See, my tension was not perfect, so it's kind of longer here, but that's okay. It's really not going to matter when it's all said and done. Single crochet into that next stitch, which is right before the corresponding post. And then into the next chain space, which is a chain 2 space, we'll do 2 single crochets. And then into that next stitch, 1 single crochet. And then into the next chain space, which is a chain 1 space, 1 single crochet. And then into that next stitch, single crochet. And into the next chain space, 1 single crochet. And then single crochet into the next stitch. Then into the next chain space, which is a chain 4 space, 4 single crochets. And then now this will be our next corner. So into this next stitch here, we'll do 3 half double crochets. And then into the next chain space, 3 single crochets. Into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. And then into the next chain space, which is a chain 4 space, 4 single crochets. Into the next stitch, 1 single crochet. And into the next chain 4 space, 4 single crochets. And 1 single crochet into the next stitch. And then into the next chain space, which is a chain 3 space, do 3 single crochets. And then 1 single crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 single crochets into the next chain space, which should be a chain 2 space. And then now we're to where our next corner will be. So into that next stitch, we'll do 3 half double crochets. And then into the next chain space, which is a chain 3 space, we'll do 3 single crochets. Single crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 single crochets into the next chain space. Single crochet into the next stitch, and then 2 single crochets into the next chain space, and then we'll slip stitch into that first single crochet to join. And just keep in mind, right, this first looking V was actually our chain 1, so don't count that. We're not counting that as a stitch. Find those 2 vertical bars in the V right above it, or right before it, technically, is the correct place to insert. So really it's like the next V that you see, or the second V that you see. So that was our chain. This is the first single crochet. So we'll slip stitch into that first single crochet to join onto the next round, chain 2, and we're going to continue working in the same direction, or working in the round, into that same stitch that our chain is coming out of, that we had slip stitched into. Do a 1 half double crochet, and then continue doing half double crochets until you get to the corner. So 11 more. So it should be 12 half double crochets total if you include the one we just made. And then we'll go from there. And that should have ended up being the stitch right before your corner stitch. And the corner stitch will be your middle half double crochet. So here, so we made those 3 half double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. If you need to pull them apart. If you get the numbers correct, then it's, this is not super relevant, but it's kind of a good rule of thumb in general. So you find that middle half double crochet, and then the the V right before that post is the middle, or yeah, is the middle half double crochet. Even though it kind of looks like that one goes with this post, which is the first half double crochet, because it's kind of pulled and slanted. But the one we just worked into actually goes in with the post of the first half double crochet. So if that makes sense, if that's helpful, if you did the 12, it should match up, but just in general, if you lose count, that's one way to know where your corner is. All right, and then into that corner stitch, we'll do 3 half double crochets. So 1, 2, and 3. All right, and then into the next 8 stitches, we'll double crochet. So 1, and 8. And then the next 2 stitches will be half double crochets. So 1, 2. Into the next 10 stitches, we will single crochet. 1, 10, and then into the next 2 stitches, half double crochet. So 1 half double, 2 half double, and then now you should be at your corner stitch, and we'll do 3 half doubles into that corner stitch. 1, 2, and 3. And then we're just going to half double crochet along this edge here. So it ends up being 22 half double crochets. And then should be at your corner stitch now, and 3 half double crochets into that corner stitch. And then into the next 2 stitches, half double crochet. So 1 and 2. Into the next 10 stitches, single crochet. 1, and the next 2 stitches will be half double crochets. So 1 and 2 half doubles, and then the next 8 stitches will be double crochets. 1, 8, and then into the next stitch, which is the corner stitch, 3 half doubles. So 1, 2, and 3. And then into the next 10, or the last 10 stitches, we will half double crochet. 10, and then into that first half double crochet, so we're not counting that chain 2 as a stitch, or that beginning chain 2 as a stitch, we will slip stitch into that first half double crochet, so the V right before its corresponding post. We will slip stitch, and then we will chain 2, and then into that same stitch that we just joined into, half double crochet, and then half double crochet the rest of this edge. So it should end up being 13 half double crochets total if you include the one we just made. And into that corner stitch, or the next stitch, which should be that corner stitch, 3 half double crochets, and the next 2 stitches will be half double crochets. So 1, 2. The next 8 stitches will be single crochets. The next 4 stitches will be half doubles. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The next 10 stitches will be single crochets. And then should be at your corner stitch now, which will be 3 half doubles into that corner stitch, 2 and 3, and then this edge will just be half doubles all the way, which will end up being 24 half double crochets. And then it should be at your corner stitch. Will be 3 half doubles into that corner stitch. And then the next 10 stitches will be single crochets. And then the next 4 stitches will be half doubles. So 1. And the next 8 stitches will be single crochets. And then the next 2 stitches will be half doubles. So 1 and 2. And then should be at your corner stitch now. And we'll do 3 half doubles into that corner stitch. The next 11 stitches, or the last 11 stitches, will be half doubles. And then we'll slip stitch into that first half double to join, just like we've been doing every other time. So you should know where to insert your hook by now. We'll chain 1 and into that same stitch that we just joined into, single crochet, and then single crochet the rest of this edge. So it should end up being 14 total if you include the one we just made. You should be at your corner middle half double crochet, and into that corner stitch we're going to do a single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet all into that same stitch. We're just making our corner a bit more pronounced, I guess. And then into the next 4 stitches, half double crochet. So 1. Into the next 10 stitches, single crochet. And then into the next 12 stitches, half double crochet. Should be at your corner stitch, and we'll do the same thing as we did on the last corner. So single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet. And then along this top edge, we'll just do 26 single crochet. And should be at your corner stitch now, where you will single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet. And then into the next 12 stitches, half double crochet. And then next 10 stitches will be single crochets. And then into the next 4 stitches, half double. So 1, and then should be at your corner stitch, where we'll single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet. Into the last 12 stitches here, we'll single crochet. So 1, and just know that this stitch here that looks like it could be the last stitch was the slip stitch we used to join the last round, so that's not a stitch. So if you're like, oh my gosh, the count is off, or I missed a stitch, you didn't. That's not a stitch. So hope that helps. All right, and then we'll slip stitch into that first single crochet to join, and remember this first tiny little V was our chain 1. Into that single crochet, we will slip stitch. And then this entire round is just going to be single crochets, and the corners into the chain spaces will be single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet, just like the last round. And that will be the same this whole round. So I'll get you started. We'll chain 1, and then into that same stitch that we joined into, we will single crochet. Single crochet until you get to the corner space. 15 should end up being 15 single crochets, and then into that chain 2 space, single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet, and then continue doing single crochets. Keep in mind that this is your first stitch to work into, so that's not a chain. That is actually the stitch, because this is the next single crochet, and that V, the corresponding V, comes right before it. I know I'm like a broken record, but I'm just trying to make sure you don't miscount, I guess. So single crochet the rest of this edge. And then 28, so it should end up being 28 single crochets if you're not including your corners. And then into that chain 2 space, corner space, single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet. And repeat what we just did on this edge on the next 2 edges. So 28 single crochet, and then into the chain space, single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet, and then 28 single crochets into the chain 2 space, single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet, and then I'll meet you back to make sure you have the right count for the last bit here. Along the bottom here, I just did my single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet into that chain space, And then we'll just continue single crocheting for the rest of this edge. 13, so it should end up with 13 single crochets, which does end up equaling 28, just as the other side, the edges have. All right, and then we will slip stitch into that first single crochet of the round to join, and then fasten off here if you're changing colors. So chain 1 and cut. If you're keeping the same, if you're not changing colors, just chain 1 and I'll show you from there. And slip knot, and then we're gonna, just as we've been doing, because we're not counting the chains as stitches, into that same stitch that we joined into. That is where we'll join our new color. So chain 1, and then now we're gonna do single crochets all the way around, but we're going to work into the back loops. So we're still going to work into the same stitch that we just joined into, but we're working into the back loop only. So you find your V, and basically you insert top down under that back bar of the V. And I'm gonna work around my tail ends here. You do what you want, and single crochet, and then same thing into the next stitch, into the back loop, and again into the next stitch, to the back loop. So continue that until we get to the corner. Alright, should end up being 16 back loop single crochets, and then into that chain space. Don't worry about working into a back loop or anything, just into that chain space, just as we did in the last round. We'll single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet, and then continue the same thing all the way around. So to the back loop only of each stitch, we'll single crochet, and each edge except the first edge should end up being 30 single crochets. So 30 back loop single crochets, and then single crochet, chain 2, single crochet into that chain space, and then 30 single crochets, and then into the chain space, single crochet, chain 2, and single crochet, and then 30 single crochets, and then into the chain space, single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and then the last bit will be 14 single crochets. And then I'll show you how we're going to join, because we're not going to slip stitch to join. We're going to do an invisible join. So I will show you how to do that when we get there. So finish your back loop single crochet round, and then I will meet you back. All right, I just did my 14th single crochet of this edge, which was my last single crochet. And leave your, so just don't slip stitch to join or anything. Just right after your last single crochet, just cut a tail at least, I don't know, 6 inches. Grab your needle, and then into the second single crochet of the round. So here was our chain, that was our chain 1. This was the first single crochet of the round. This was the second. So into the second single crochet of the round, that is where we're going to insert. and that's because we're basically going to cover up that first stitch with a fake stitch. And this is an invisible join. So insert, bring your needle back, and then back to that stitch that your tail is coming out of. So here's your tail into basically the back loop of that is where you're going to insert and then pull through. And as you can see, it kind of makes like a fake V. So, but what's really important to secure this is just weave this tail in really good. I usually go the opposite direction. So like my tail is going that way. I'll start with weaving it this way instead, just to kind of help secure it better. And just weave it really good. I should have grabbed a smaller darning needle, but that's all right. This works, I guess. It's just a little bulky. And then I like to bring it back the other direction, skipping a couple bars, or at least one bar for it to wrap around. Otherwise, you're just going to go back through, you're going to accidentally undo what you just did. So it needs somewhere to catch. So skipping one of the bars that I worked under, pulling the other direction. Sometimes I get wacky and I'll go all sorts of different directions, but because there's really nowhere else to go with this color, we're just keeping it simple. And then sometimes I'll even go back that direction in the same way, skipping one of the bars. You could even make like a knot. So that last bar that I just worked under, I'm going to insert again, and then the loop, before I pull all the way through that loop, I'll work under there, kind of makes a knot, and then I'll weave it in a little bit more before cutting. So in case you wanted an actual lesson of the best way to weave in an invisible join, and then of course weave in the rest of your tail end, any leftover ends, or clean up ones that you worked around. If you worked around yours, really the only, see, this was the very first one. The only ones you should have to weave in would be the ones with when we switched out colors on that chain. What did I just clip? Could you imagine? All right, I think we're good. Yeah. Make sure you're only cutting the ends and not the actual work. That would suck. Yep, and then just weave in these tails, really wherever you want. But I would, keep it consistent with the colors. So weave this color in with its corresponding color, and then this one in with the white or whatever color you've chosen. All right, I gotta hop in the shower before my daughter gets home. Otherwise, I'd weave those in with you. But that's it. Pretty fun. I'm pretty proud of this design, especially because it's like a no-sew. Like, I feel like a lot of fun granny squares with things like butterflies or I don't know, whatever else, end up being like you have to connect them separately or make them and then connect them. But I don't like to do that. I'd rather just work all in one piece. I mean, we switched colors, but you could work it all one color if you didn't feel like switching things out. So, and then you would have like no tail ends except the first and last one. But yeah, side note. And I would block this if you're making a piece, you could always, you know, connect and then block everything at the end. But of course, everything looks better when you block it. So I really hope you enjoyed that tutorial. Please like and subscribe to see what else I have coming. Yeah, I plan to have a written pattern for this on my Etsy at some point if you want the written. I mean, I guess you don't really need it, but if you wanted to support, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.